The game of chess is complex. Just how complex, you may ask? Well, there are more possible ways a game of chess can play out than the number of stars in the observable universe. And with all those configurations and arrangements, there's no worse way to open a game of chess than with the Bongcloud. This opening, while so atrocious yet so legendary, has even been played by Magnus, Carlsen, and Hikaru Nakamura in an official online tournament. However, that was online. Nobody has dared play this monstrosity in an official over-the-board rated chess tournament. Nobody. That is, until today, my friends. So here we are in a 5-minute USCF rated blitz tournament. My opponent here is rated 1000 and he begins the game with 1 e4. I respond quickly with e5, taking equal space in the center of the board. My opponent... Oh, he set his pieces up wrong. No problem. Knight f3 and here we go. There are many moves you can make as black here. Knight f6 to Petrov, d6 to Fiddler, but the most principled and popular move is knight c6, developing a piece and defending the e5 pawn. Instead, on the second move of the game, I go into a deep think. Contemplation riddled my mind. What should I play? 30 seconds in and my opponent looks up at me, which is a chess way of saying, what the hell are you doing, bro? I throw a pawn fake, shake my head as if I just blundered my queen, and after almost a minute of deep pondering, I play the brilliant and magnificent move, King e7. And then this happens.
You're in Bongcloud?
Huh?
Wait, what? Bongcloud? What's that? Is that open? I saw like a corner.
He obviously wasn't having it, and at this point I couldn't tell if he was pissed or he actually thought I was an idiot. Nonetheless, the show must go on, and with the engine eval now at +3 in favor for white, I play knight c6, developing my queenside knight. My opponent thinks for about 20 seconds, giving up a 30-second advantage on the clock, which I'm not sure why, but he ends up playing bishop c4, a good move. I consolidate my e5 pawn by playing pawn to d6, and he castles. My plan right now is to play bishop e6 and trade off the light squared bishops. It's a good plan to try and trade off his strong pieces here, since my opponent has leading development and my king is very weak. But I first play knight f6, developing my kingside knight and applying pressure on the e4 pawn. He plays d3, looking to develop his dark square bishop, but I really like seeing this move because it was very passive. I'm slowly starting to feel my position was getting better, and the engine agrees with only a +1.5 eval. He plays bishop g5, which is another move that doesn't attempt to open up the position. I go king d7, unpinning my knight and looking to manually castle my king queenside. Now another good plan by my opponent would be to play d4 to try to shred open the center before my king gets to safety, but he moves his bishop back to e3, which is another typical beginner mistake of moving the same piece twice. I develop my dark square bishop to the only square available, and my opponent quickly strikes with d4, an excellent move to start trading pawns in the center. I think here for a while because I can't ignore that pawn, or else to go d5, which will force my knight on c6 to move away from the center into a less active square. So I take on d4, which is the only move that keeps my Bongcloud hopes alive. He takes back with the bishop, which keep in mind has now moved 3 times. It's better here to take with a knight because it centralizes it and makes a threat. In this position, my goal is to bring my queen to a more active square and off the back rank, so I play queen e8 trying to bring her to g6 or h5 and maybe even start an attack on the king. But my opponent plays another excellent move, e5. I'm starting to feel a little nervous here because if I take with the pawn, he'll have some discovered checks, so I bring my knight to d5, which is not a good move since he can just trade knights and double my center pawns. But he plays an okay move, rook e1, moving his rook to the highly contested file. I respond with queen g6, which is no bueno. I shouldn't have just taken his knight on c3 so he can't double my pawns. Instead, he decides not to double them and offer a trade of queens to enter an endgame. The reason this isn't a good trade for white is because he's just traded off his strongest attacking piece against my weak king. Now, I don't even need to bring my king to safety. I can just keep it placed in the center and active during this endgame. I think here I just forgot how my knight moves because I refuse to trade and play probably the worst move in this position, h6, which has literally no purpose. But speaking of playing the worst move, my opponent plays knight g5, which flat out hangs a full knight and gives me complete advantage over the game. Come on, who said the Bongcloud was a bad opening? But he didn't just hang one piece, but yet another for your boy. Knight takes d4, a free bishop. You see, the thing with playing the Bongcloud is that it's a psychological opening. The moment you pick up your king on the second move and place that motherfucker down, your opponent begins to question everything, and that buildup of pressure and anxiety is what caused my opponent here to blunder. I failed to see the hanging bishop, but it's all good. It's still a -5 eval, and I should be able to convert this. Let me spare you this man's humiliation of getting destroyed by the Bongcloud and show you something even more tragic. This Pause the video and click that subscribe button right now. It's entirely free and it really helps support the channel. I'm also going to be doing my first live stream on Twitch very soon, and I'm going to be giving away 5 1monthchess.com memberships. So go follow me at twitch.tv/ReyChess. Back to the game. I'm up 2 pieces in this totally winning endgame, but my opponent runs out of time. GG's to my man. Here we are, game 2, and my opponent here is very high rated, around 2000 on chess.com. I have the white pieces of this game, and I begin the game with a few stretches first, and who do I think I am? Magnus Carlsen?
I see grandmasters do this all the time, so
I already did it.
I feel like it's like, you know, proper.
I already did it before.
Not gonna lie, I'm cringing so hard watching this back, but alright, finally e4, and he responds quickly with c6, the Carlsen. I go for my signature move 2 deep think, and there are a few moves you can play here as white. d4, taking central control and maybe playing the advanced variation, bishop c4, the hillbilly attack, or simply developing one of the knights to maybe play the 2 knights attack. All of them are good, but I'm here on a mission to play one and only one opening. I first play d4 against Hikaru, and he responds quickly with d5. My opponent has a really good poker face, because if I were him right now, I would be desperately holding my laughter back. In my head right now, I'm thinking to myself, it's now or never. My heart was actually pumping here and the nerves were starting to get to me.
This time pressure's getting to me. Sorry, man.
You're good. Just relax.
I'm shaking. Look at this. Okay, shake it up. All right.
Shout out to my opponent though, but you know what move is coming next, baby. King e2! My opponent shows no emotion this time and blitzes out d takes e4. I respond with knight c3, trying to win the pawn back, but he defends with knight f6. I play an inaccurate move, bishop f4. Now my opponent can play a move like queen b6, attacking the undefended b2 pawn. What I should have done instead is play f3, looking to compensate for my weak king for leading development. But he plays bishop g5 check, a scary move at first since it skewers my king and queen, but thankfully I can block with f3 and we trade pawns. My position here actually isn't too bad, I just need to get my king to safety first. He plays knight b to d7, and my plan here is to manually castle my king-queen side, so I first develop my queen to d3. My opponent goes for the stereotypical head scratch before moving and decides on e6, opening up his bishop. I play another inaccurate move, rook e1. The engine really like going king f2, manually castling the king side. He plays bishop b4, and I continue my plan of castling with king d1. He castles king side, and I play h3, which is another inaccurate move because he can just move his bishop back and attack my queen with tempo. I move my king over to c1, and he goes knight d5, attacking my bishop and threatening to double my queenside pawns. The obvious move that covers both threats is retreating the bishop back to d2, but I play a serious mistake by swinging the bishop back to h2. He capitalizes on this mistake by first playing bishop g6, attacking the queen, and after moving my queen, he takes on c3, crippling my king's defenders. This is starting to look very scary for my king. He gives me a check on a3, and I completely blunder here by playing way too fast. He now has an unstoppable checkmate on b2 with his queen and bishop. So anticlimactic, man. If I would have went king d1 instead, the evaluation would have been -2, which is still okay. My opponent's face here tells the whole story. Don't ever try to Bongcloud me, son. I play out the checkmate, and that's GG's.
Game, man.